Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of mass migration within Africa. So this is not Africans, moving to the White West, but the many millions, tens of millions that move around inside Africa, and the effect it has on, or the response rather, from the various African governments. Now, I was just doing a bit of channel surfing, and I came across a short speech by a South African politician, a Zulu politician, as I understand, because very tribal in South Africa, which is why the white governments, in the days before Mandela was, and all that sort of thing, where the white governments are saying, look, these black people here are very, very tribal, and any government is unlikely to work as long as that tribalism remains. But they were poo-pooed as being Nazis and fascists and everything for saying that. So, but it's turned out, of course, to be fully true. The blacks inherited one of the richest countries on the planet and have managed to turn it into a basket case in 30 years through indolence and corruption and tribalism and so on. Anyway, having a look, this politician who doesn't sound like they've got an IQ approaching 100, they were saying, complaining about the amount of black people, other Africans who wanted to come to South Africa because they saw South Africa as being a rich country with lots of easy pickings, lots of handouts, lots of giveaways, lots of free stuff, and more likelihood of getting jobs, that sort of thing. So they sort of look at that. So we look at the big white buildings down the big streets of the cities and so on. But that was all built and created by white people before the black people came along. But the other blacks in Africa see, well, there you go. That's proof. The streets are paved with gold. Look at those big white buildings there. So tens of millions of people are streaming into South Africa. Now, this has been the case for a while. If you look at something like 50% of the black population in South Africa at the time that black majority rule or black rule came in, something like 50% of the black population there had actually come in from other African countries. Now, why the white government didn't stop that is quite beyond me. They just sort of put them in corralled off areas in the hope that they just go back to wherever they came from rather than trying to expel them. I don't know if how practical that would have been given the size of the African border, and people could come in from all directions, so it wouldn't be easy. And you can see why they had very strict pass control rules, because they didn't know who was local and who wasn't and where they came from. Even though this was denounced as being Nazis and so on, it was never about that. So anyway, this black politician is now complaining about that all these many millions of black people coming from other parts of Africa are streaming in because they think they're going to get some sort of easy handouts or freebie giveaways and so on, and they're coming in, they're not getting the freebies and so on, so they commit crime. There's more tribal violence, blacks killing each other, and then going into areas where they think there's any wealth and trying to steal it, and again, lots of illiterate black peasants streaming into South Africa, and the politicians say, "Hey, we don't need more of these people. We need different sorts of people in this." But complaining very much about illegal migration, and even the legal migration is being complained about. This should be zero. Now, if a white politician said that, there would be screaming international headlines. There'd be hysteria over, well, Hitler, and that would be just going all over the news and the news cycle. But because a black politician or a black government, other black government, black people, black politicians in South Africa are saying the same thing. When I saw that, I thought maybe that guy was a one out. So I had a little further look, and actually the entire black government, and they're all black. There's no white people in the government. The entire black government is speaking really with one voice that they don't want this migration, mass migration, and even expressing concerns that all these white agitators from the NGOs are saying, well, why don't you, go to the rich countries? And South Africa is still seen incorrectly today, seen as a rich country. So, I mean, there's still white wealth to pillage, and they haven't quite got through it all yet, but they will pretty soon, and it's running out fast. So, again, I was quite taken aback by how vehement the South African black politicians are, how much they talk against migration. Remember, all the migrants are black. They're not talking about white migrants or brown or something. They're all black. The migrants don't want to come to South Africa, and yet they're saying that hey, we don't want them. So the all black government is saying they don't want black migration. And interestingly, they say, so indirectly they say the same things. Look, these people are illiterate. They've got no skills. They've got nothing. They're troublemakers. They commit crimes. We don't need them here. They're just adding extra drama and cost and difficulty to the ones we've already got running the country. And they're creating sort of fresh tribes. They're setting up little sort of enclaves, and they're having tribal warfare with other enclaves. We don't need this aggravation. It's just all too hard. We don't want them to come in, and we want them to all go away. Now, really, these are the exact same things that anybody prepared to speak honestly about mass migration is talking, into Europe. The amount of illiterate black or brown, doesn't matter, the illiterate third world peasants who come in, and they're illiterate in their own language, for goodness sakes, and they've got no skills, qualifications, or capabilities or anything at all. And again, heavily overrepresented in criminality. They live in ghettos. Why would you want that? And this is the same. So, but if a white politician says it, they're instantly accused of being Hitler. Whereas these black politicians, and by the way, not just in South Africa, if you've got other black governments in the region, when there's a big influx of say the neighbouring state has a famine or a civil war or something like that, they don't want the people coming in, not in those numbers, and creating the sort of problems. Even if it's not a famine or a civil war, but just people thinking. So one of the politicians in Africa said, as soon as we get our own house in order and the country becomes wealthier, as in better managed, better organised, better run, becomes wealthier, then suddenly all these other black people from all these other failed states, or not less successful states, all come streaming in, all wanting freebies, giveaways, handouts, and that sort of thing. We can't sustain that, and it just returns us back to almost Malthusian in its concept. Returns us back to the condition we were before, where we've got too many people and we can't feed them all, and that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting thing that the black politicians are actually telling the truth, and that is a factual truth, no matter where you are in the world, or certainly, when you get too many people coming in that produce nothing, create nothing, and all they do is deliver problems and dramas, then you're all worse off as a consequence. I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that. But if a white politician says, Hitler, but these black politicians all over Africa, but particularly in South Africa in this case, they can state that obvious point, and the media don't even touch it. And I think part of the reason is you got black politicians condemning black people. So that's not newsworthy. Same as you get in places like Chicago and Baltimore, you get black street gangs having shootouts down the, gang violence, having shootouts in the main street. Doesn't really get covered. But if you get one white person shoots a black person, then suddenly international headlines, racist, Hitler. And so we're looking at a very, very one-sided narrative that's being pushed. But because it's the black politicians condemning black migration, be it legal or otherwise, then nobody cares. But the facts that the black politicians are laying out are the same facts that the white politicians are laying out with all the influx of brown and black illiterate peasants into Europe. And yet one's condemned for being a Hitler Nazi, and the other doesn't even get mentioned in the media. It's an interesting double standard there. You've been a Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.